Welcome to day 5 of our financial wellness program. Today's topic is all about the psychology of spending and how to avoid impulse purchases. Let's face it, we've all been guilty of making a spontaneous purchase that we later regretted. Whether it's a new outfit or the latest gadget, impulse purchases can be a major setback to our financial goals. In this chapter, we'll dive into the psychology behind why we make these purchases and how to overcome these impulses to achieve a healthier relationship with our finances. So let's get started. Number 1, understand the triggers. When it comes to spending, we all have certain triggers that cause us to make impulse purchases. These triggers could be anything from a flashy advertisement to peer pressure from friends. It's important to understand what triggers your impulse buying so that you can be aware and avoid them. For some people, emotions such as stress, boredom, or loneliness can trigger an impulse purchase. Others may be triggered by a sense of scarcity or limited availability. Understanding your personal triggers can help you to identify situations where you might be more susceptible to impulse spending. One way to identify your triggers is to keep a spending diary. Record each time you make a purchase and the circumstances surrounding it. After a few weeks or months, you may start to see patterns and identify your triggers. This awareness is the first step towards avoiding impulse purchases and taking control of your spending habits. Number 2, make a shopping list. As you stroll down the aisles of your favorite store, it can be easy to get distracted by the endless options available to you. To avoid impulse purchases, consider making a shopping list before you even leave the house. By creating a clear plan of what you need to buy, you can stay focused on the essentials and avoid getting sidetracked by shiny new items. Crafting a shopping list can also help you save money by preventing you from purchasing items you don't really need. It forces you to prioritize your spending and think critically about what you're putting in your cart. Plus, having a list can give you a sense of accomplishment as you check off each item, making your shopping trip feel more productive and purposeful. Number 3, use cash. As you venture into the world of responsible spending, there are several strategies that you can employ to avoid impulse purchases. One of these is to rely solely on cash. When you physically have to hand over money for a purchase, it can be a powerful deterrent against impulse buying. By using cash, you are more likely to stick to your budget and avoid overspending. Additionally, studies have shown that people are more likely to feel the emotional impact of spending money when using cash rather than a credit card. This can help you make more mindful decisions about your purchases, leading to better financial outcomes in the long run. So, next time you head to the store, leave your cards at home and bring only the cash you need for your planned purchases. Number 4, wait before buying. Patience is a virtue, and it's especially important when it comes to making purchases. Waiting before buying can help you avoid impulse purchases and save money in the long run. In today's chapter, we'll explore the benefits of waiting before making a purchase and how you can incorporate this habit into your daily life. If you're considering buying something, try waiting for at least a day or two before making the purchase. This will give you time to think about whether you really need the item or if it's just a fleeting desire. You might find that the urge to buy passes after a few days, saving you from making an unnecessary purchase. Another benefit of waiting is that it gives you time to research the item and find the best deal. You might discover a better price or a similar item that better fits your needs. Waiting also allows you to save up for the purchase instead of relying on credit, which can lead to debt and financial stress. So, next time you're tempted to make an impulse purchase, try waiting it out. You might be surprised at how much money and stress you can save in the process. Number 5, consider the true cost. We'll get to that in a second. I have a favor to ask of you. If you like this video so far, please subscribe to the channel. The true cost of a purchase extends beyond its price tag. It includes the time and effort required to maintain or dispose of the item, the potential environmental impact, and the opportunity cost of the money spent. In this chapter, we'll explore how to consider the true cost of a purchase and make more informed decisions. To start, take a moment to think about the last few things you bought. Did you consider how long they would last or how they would impact the environment? Often, we get caught up in the moment and make purchases without considering the bigger picture. By taking the time to consider the true cost, we can make more intentional choices that align with our values and goals. One way to do this is to look beyond the price tag and consider the long-term cost of ownership. For example, a cheap pair of shoes may seem like a good deal, but if they wear out quickly and need to be replaced frequently, the true cost of ownership may be much higher than a more expensive, higher quality pair. Additionally, we can consider the environmental impact of our purchases. How is the item produced? What will happen to it? When will happen to it when we no longer need it? By choosing items that are sustainably produced and have a minimal environmental impact, we can make a positive impact on the planet. Number 6, identify your triggers. As you strive to avoid impulse purchases, it's essential to know your triggers. To get started, consider the various factors that might lead you to overspend. One of the most significant triggers is your emotional state. For instance, you might feel stressed or anxious and turn to shopping as a form of self-soothing. Additionally, advertisements, sales, and social media can all be triggers for impulsive spending. By identifying your triggers, you can take steps to minimize their influence on your purchasing decisions. To identify your triggers, it's helpful to track your spending habits. Consider keeping a journal or a digital log to record when and why you make purchases. This information can help you identify patterns and recognize when you're more likely to make impulsive purchases. For instance, you may notice that you tend to buy more when you're feeling down or when you're browsing online late at night. Another strategy is to reflect on your past experiences. Think about times when you've made impulsive purchases in the past. Were there any common themes or situations that led to those purchases? By understanding the context in which you tend to overspend, you can develop strategies to avoid those situations or better manage your impulses. Number 7, shop with a friend. Shopping can be an enjoyable experience, but it can also lead to impulsive purchases. One way to avoid this is by bringing a friend along. Not only will you have someone to chat with, but you can also keep each other accountable. Here are some tips to consider when shopping with a friend. Start by setting some ground rules. Make a pact to only buy what you came for and to keep each other in check if one of you is tempted by an impulse purchase. Have a plan before you hit the stores. Decide which stores you want to visit and what items you need to purchase. Stick to the plan and avoid getting sidetracked by shiny displays or sales. Be honest with each other. If one of you is starting to waver on an impulse purchase, speak up and remind each other of your goals. Take breaks when needed. Shopping can be exhausting, so take breaks and grab a snack or drink if needed. This can also give you time to reassess your purchases and make sure you're sticking to your plan. Have fun. Shopping with a friend can be a fun bonding experience, so don't forget to enjoy the time spent together. Number 8, create a waiting list. The thrill of the purchase can often lead to impulse buying, but what if there was a way to delay that excitement? By creating a waiting list, you can give yourself time to reconsider whether the purchase is truly necessary. When you see something you want to buy, don't rush into making the purchase. Instead, write down the item on your waiting list and give yourself a set amount of time before deciding whether to buy it. This waiting period could be a few days, a week, or even longer, depending on the item and your budget. During the waiting period, take the time to reflect on whether you truly need the item or if it's just a passing fancy. You may find that after some time has passed, the desire to buy has faded away. Or you may find that you still want the item, but now you have a better understanding of whether it's worth the cost. Creating a waiting list can also help you prioritize your spending. By delaying purchases, you can focus on buying the things that truly matter to you and avoid wasting money on items that are not as important. Remember, The waiting list is not just for big purchases, but for small ones too. By waiting a few days before making a purchase, you can save money and prevent impulse buys. Number 9, limit your exposure. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with advertisements and marketing messages, it can be difficult to avoid impulse purchases. However, there are steps you can take to limit your exposure and reduce the temptation to spend money you don't have. Here are some tips to help you limit your exposure and stay on track with your budget. Take a break from social media. Social media platforms are full of ads that can be targeted towards your interests and desires. Taking a break from social media or limiting your time spent scrolling can reduce your exposure to these ads. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. If you find yourself constantly tempted by sales and promotions from your favorite brands, consider unsubscribing from their email lists. This will reduce the number of marketing messages you receive in your inbox. Use ad blockers. Install an ad blocker on your web browser to limit the number of ads you see online. This can reduce the temptation to click on ads and make impulsive purchases. Avoid window shopping. Walking through malls or browsing online shopping sites can be tempting, even if you don't intend to buy anything. Try to avoid these situations as much as possible to reduce your exposure to potential triggers. Set boundaries with friends and family. If you have friends or family members who are constantly encouraging you to make purchases, have an honest conversation with them about your financial goals and ask for their support in sticking to your budget. Number 10, practice self-control. Have you ever felt like you just couldn't resist buying something you saw? Maybe you saw something in a store window, or a friend told you about a sale. No matter the cause, impulsive purchases can be a huge problem for your wallet. Fortunately, there are strategies you can use to practice self-control and resist the urge to make impulsive purchases. Here are some tips to get you started. Think before you buy. When you find something you want to buy, take a moment to think about whether you really need it. Ask yourself if it fits into your budget, if you already have something similar, and if you can find a better deal elsewhere. Avoid temptation. If you know there are certain stores or websites that trigger your impulse buying, try to avoid them altogether. Unsubscribe from promotional emails, stay away from shopping malls, and avoid browsing online stores. Focus on long-term goals. Remembering your long-term financial goals can help you resist the urge to make impulse purchases. Whether you are saving for a vacation or a down payment on a house, keeping your goals in mind can help you make better financial decisions. Practice mindfulness. Pay attention to your emotions and physical sensations when you feel the urge to make an impulse purchase. By acknowledging these feelings and practicing mindfulness, you can learn to control your impulses and make more thoughtful decisions. Delay gratification. When you see something you want to buy, tell yourself you will wait a certain amount of time before making a decision. This can help you avoid making an impulsive purchase and give you time to consider whether it is something you really need. Reward yourself. If you have been practicing self-control and avoiding impulsive purchases, be sure to reward yourself. This can help you stay motivated and make it easier to resist future temptations. As we wrap up our discussion on the psychology of spending, it's time to prepare for our next topic, building your emergency fund. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future topics on personal finance and wealth building.